Welcome back to the channel. You guys already know what it is. I got a green screen, so we got motion moving in the background, guys. You already know we are going to be reacting to a video. This one is going to be Japan's foreigner situation is really bad. Now, I could only assume from the title it has something to do, and then plus from the image, that it's people going to Japan thinking they could just do whatever the hell they want. Essentially a lighter version of Johnny Somali. Johnny Somali, if you guys know, if not, I'll post it in this video somewhere because it's a pretty good video that I made about Johnny Somali going to Japan and causing a whole bunch of havoc. I think he caused a ripple effect because people saw the virality from it, and then you have this dude freaking dancing on the subway like it's New York. But nonetheless, we're gonna watch the video, guys. It's short, so subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's jump right into it. Let's save Japan because I want to go there really bad and they're probably going to hate me now.
Japan has turned into a theme park for tourists. It seems like every other week there's a new video going around the internet where tourists act like they own the country, which eventually leads into public outrage. Things have gotten so bad that now there's a name for them. People who do this kind of stuff are called Meiwaku Gaikokujin, which simply translates to nuisance foreigners, and
they're going on like the temples and doing pull-ups. That is disrespectful as hell.
The situation is worse than ever before. The Japanese economy is not doing good, and their currency is weaker than it has been in decades. This means that Japan has become an affordable place to visit for people across the world, which has caused tourism to spike up, and as of right now, Japan is having the most tourists visiting the country that it has ever had before in its history. With millions of people visiting, there's bound to be bad eggs in the bunch who don't know how to be respectful in a foreign country. This is further affected by the fact that now with the rise of social media, influencers have started spreading the image that Japan is a fun cartoon land where everything is quirky and you can treat it like a theme park. We've already
I bet regular people who don't watch anime in Japan, which if you don't know, a lot of people do watch it in Japan, right? It's the same way like how a lot of people grew up watching cartoons here, but adults just stop watching anime the same way adults stop watching cartoons. Not a lot of people, especially older people, watch anime, right? So I say that to say, this colorful concept of you thinking you're going to be jumping into an isekai of some format or Jujutsu Kaisen, it's not what you're going to expect in Japan, if that's why you want to go. It's very subtle, more or less. People like to be, kept by themselves, maybe within their own circle. It's rude almost to try to interact with people in certain instances. There's a lot of cultural differences and cultural norms that you really want to know so you don't come off looking disrespectful in Japan. And as long as you're trying and you're making an attempt and you're not coming off like you're being these individuals, like from what I've heard, then you should be fine, right? And that's really the long and short. Don't be an idiot. Don't be Logan Paul.
Had many situations like this go viral this year, and now with another video popping up with these guys dancing and doing pull-ups on the train, I thought it's time to talk about this again.
He always has to reach out. Why?
Now, I'm not saying I haven't thought about
made Brody have to get off the train and wait for another one. That's when you're drawing the line.
Doing pull-ups in the train, but the reason I haven't done it is simply because it's not something you should be doing in Japan. Since most people in here have to spend hours in the train, packed like sardines on their way to work, there's a consensus that trains are a place where you don't mess around. Sure, there are many Japanese people who don't follow the rules and cause chaos in the train, but the difference is that it's their country. Of course, they shouldn't be doing it either. But tourists should put an extra effort into not acting like dickheads.
This guy really has to practice not saying the word that I'm hearing, because I know he means tourists, right? But he's saying the other word. And if that triggers on his YouTube videos, that would just suck, because he just can't not say the other word.
Because it's just not cool.
He's like, fuck off.
You might like walking around naked in your own house, but if you come to my house, keep your clothes on. I don't want to say doing an obnoxious TikTok dance on the train is the worst thing you can do, and even some kids seem to be enjoying it on the videos. But to me personally, it doesn't matter where I am. When I'm coming home from my 18-hour shift at the office, I don't wanna see this bullshit. And there are clearly people who think like me on the video, as you can clearly see from the reactions they give to this guy. Let me be straight with you. Japan as a country can be pretty racist. Living here means that I have to put extra effort into being considerate. For example, if a Japanese person sees another Japanese person crossing the road on a red light, they're going to think that one guy is an a-hole who doesn't follow the rules. But if they see me cross the road on a red light, they're going to think all foreigners are a-holes. So, in order to keep us foreigners on good terms with the locals, I have to act like a saint. Which is fine. I'm here because I want to be here, and that's the sacrifice I have to make. If you even can call, having to act like a nice person to be a sacrifice. Over the years, we have had many nuisance foreigners causing trouble and being on the news. But things between the tourists and the Japanese are worse than they have ever been now, and it's only getting worse each.
Didn't that look like the, in Dandaran where the old granny was at? Doesn't that look like the tunnel? I don't know, they do use a lot of actual Japanese areas in these animes now, so that's pretty funny. But this really threw me off. How are you going to do this? Unless these are just like kind of set up and these are not actually, ancient artifacts. It's not as bad, but like, what the frick are you doing?
Day. The good thing is that collectively the internet has been clowning on these guys and condemning their actions whenever situations like this have popped up. One thing I'd like to remind people though is that not every Japanese person thinks doing stuff like this is as disrespectful as you might think. When you look at the comments, there's usually a mixture of opinions, though unsurprisingly, since the country is 98% Japanese and many people here have a negative opinion on foreigners, they usually tend to lean into negative territory. And rightfully so. In most of these cases, the people acting up have deserved a reality check for their stupidity. The worst offenders from recent memory being Logan Paul, Johnny Somali, Suspendus and Phidias. These are the big ones, but there are many smaller ones happening all the time. Just recently, a girl was on the news for doing TikTok challenges on a local shrine, which was probably the wrong place to be doing that.
It was a shrine. She went on a shrine. Man, kick her out, bro. Exile. Also been huge talk about tourists taking photos of Mount Fuji in the wrong places, blocking the traffic and overall causing nuisance to the local people. Not to forget, tourists in Kyoto taking photos of the Maiko in extremely disrespectful manner. There's a huge spectrum of the nuisances tourists do around here, and I tend to agree with many of the criticism since tourists can be annoying anywhere in the world. Then there are some things where the hatred against. There's also a nightlife, I'm pretty confused because from my understanding, Japan has one of the harshest jail systems, right? That's why no one really does anything. Foreigners more often than not have it was like a 90% conviction rate or something like that. You basically have to say you did it, even if you didn't do it. So I don't know, ever since Johnny Somali, they've lightened up on foreigners. I don't know if it's because they need money. Japan has a whole crisis. They're not the birth rate, whatever it is. They're just not arresting and harshly putting these people in jail. If they did that and they did it enough, they would just stop because they wouldn't risk going to jail for like 17 months. But even Johnny Somali got out. So when you showcase that, people are going to come to your country in droves, the bad ones, right? To basically get that same virality that he started off.
Tourists goes a bit too far, and the national news start blaming foreigners for eating all the rice in the country, like I mentioned in my earlier video. So the Japanese reactions to these events are mostly on
how do you eat all the rice in Japan, in an Asian country? Guys, leave these people alone.
Understandable, but sometimes they might be a bit too extreme. But one thing I've noticed when reading the reactions from the West is that, at least to me, it seems like many people out there simp for Japan a bit too hard. Japan is considered to be the cleanest, most respectful paradise on earth, and sure, it is a great country, but in the end, I do think people forget that it's just a country. When some a-hole travels on the train without a ticket in Japan, people go insane and want to cancel them, but when someone does it in another country, nobody cares. When Assassin's Creed gets historical things wrong about Japan, there's an outrage, but when they do it in their other games, nobody cares again. Most of the time,
I think these are different situations here. For the Assassin's Creed or the gaming one, they literally took one instance where you're going to get into like using Japanese mythology or culture, and they kind of dropped the ball, kind of going left with it, right? That's more so the issue. Japan themselves, had an issue with it. So I don't know. It was a little bit different.
These things deserve to be ridiculed, and it's nice that people want to defend the country I live in and love. However, I do notice the inconsistencies to the reactions when it's about Japan. People love the idea of Japan being this utopia, which is why most online content about it is how amazing everything is in here, simply because it sells. I try my best to give a realistic view of the country in my videos because I want you guys to love the country like I do. I want you to love it for what it is, not for what you'd want it to be. Japan is not an utopia, it's just a regular country. But don't forget that when you're traveling in here, even though it is just a regular country, it's not your country. So to anyone who wants to travel to Japan, do your best and try to avoid acting like you own the place, because, well, you don't. Whenever people act like this, it only makes the local people hate us foreigners even more, and will make traveling to Japan harder for all of us.
Stop freaking messing around with Japan, bro. If you guys mess around with Japan, then I don't get to go to Japan, and then I'm gonna be mad. Or if I do get to go to Japan, they're gonna look at me weird. They're already gonna look at me a little bit weird, but that's because maybe they never see me. I don't care. People look at me weird here, right? So it is what it is, guys. But just there's no need to go to any other country and act up, because you're gonna end up in jail, and you don't speak the language. You don't want to be in the jail with other people that are gonna try to go for your butt. Let's keep it a buck. And you can't speak the language. Why would you want to risk that, bro? But in any case, guys, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Do you want to go to Japan? Leave it in the comments below, because I do. Not only for the anime, I want to go for the cultural stuff. I want to see the lifestyle. I want to walk around. Did you see how beautiful the scenery looked? And just how different it is, the lighting and everything. It's just, I've been seeing that in content since the 90s. I was going to say the 80s. I wasn't born in the 80s. Since the 90s, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's awesome, guys. But off to the next one.
I like booty.